Welcome to this video tutorial on abstract reasoning tests. Before we dig into the underlying logic of abstract questions, let's just say a few words about abstract thinking in general. Abstract thinking includes thinking about ideas and concepts, connections between things, similarities, analogies, comparisons, and so on. Whilst in real life it's an unconscious and automatic process for most of us, solving abstract reasoning tests require our awareness of methodology and the rules behind each question. In order to successfully solve abstract reasoning tests, you need to pay attention to the following steps, which will help you to understand the rules and identify the underlying logic. First, start by looking at the big picture. Read well the instructions and carefully look at the basic elements of each question. Then search for rules throughout the question. Rules might include shapes and colours, rotations, positions of shapes, proximity of shapes, identical shapes, direction of movements such as clockwise and anti-clockwise, and so forth. Start reading the sequence from left to right, top to bottom, and corner to corner. After identifying the rules of each question, discard the non-possibilities and make your final decision. Let's now put all this into practice and have a look at a question. Look at this question. Look first at the instructions. What you have been asked to do in this question is to find two choices that are exactly the same. In other words, you need to search for similarities between the presented shapes. First, start reading the sequence from left to right. What we obviously have here are 5 rectangles with 2 vertical parallel lines, one close to the left and one close to the right border of the rectangle. As we mentioned before, we need to search for similarities between those 5 objects. At a first glance, they all follow the same pattern, but we observe a difference in their sizes. Shape E appears to be bigger than the rest of the shapes, while shapes B and D are quite smaller. Shapes A and C have exactly the same size. So before concluding that shape A and C is the right answer, let's take a further look at the underlying logic of the pattern. All shapes seem to have 2 vertical, straight and non-dotted lines close to the right and the left borders of the rectangle. However, the lines for shape E appear to have a slightly bigger distance from the borders of the rectangle, and for shape D a smaller distance from the borders. Taking into account that the sizes are different and the patterns are slightly different, we can discard shapes B, D and E from our final decision. We are now confident that shapes A and C are the correct answer since they follow exactly the same pattern and have exactly the same size. Therefore, the correct answer in this question is A and C. So let's move on to another question. Example 2. So in this question, it's almost the same logic applies to the previous question. But in this example, and according to the instructions, what we need to identify is the one figure that is different and not similar to the rest. We follow the same steps as before, reading the sequence from left to right. We have 5 sets that contain 9 squares each, some of them white and some of them red. We first count the red and white squares independently. How many do we have in each set? It seems that there is the same number of red and white squares in each set, which are 5 white and 4 red squares. Since there is no difference in the number or the colours between each set, start looking for differences in position of the squares. Look first at the red squares. Are they all at the same position? From what we can observe here, they are located at different sides within each set. So this must not be the rule for this question. However, if you look carefully, there is a difference in pattern of those 4 red squares. In 4 of the sets, the pattern that the red squares follow is exactly the same. 3 red squares in a row, and the 4th one is located either to the right or left side of this row. There is only one set that doesn't follow this rule, and this set is number 5, for which the 4th red square is located in the middle of the row and not to the right or left side. Therefore, the key to solve this question must be the position of the coloured shapes. In more complex questions, the difference could be also found in the white squares or shapes where the participant doesn't automatically pay attention to, because colours always attract most of our attention. In this particular question, we are now confident the answer in this question is E.